So let's talk about what's happening in the world when it comes to spa and wellness. There's quite a few things. Global Wellness, if you get their emails, if not, I would highly suggest signing up. It's free, the articles are free. But Global Wellness Institute put out an article and actually contributed to it. It's an entrepreneur magazine. It's a study by Bank of America analysts looking at what's happening in spending and who's doing the spending. And so a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the impact of young millennials and older Gen Zs. We talked about the lipstick effect and when the economy starts to tank a bit, people tend to spend more money on those low cost items. There's this whole brunette trend where people aren't getting their roots dyed. But in the article, it really revealed some really good news for those of us in the spa and wellness sector. One, there was a previous study that mentioned that, again, Gen Z, older Gen Z, younger millennials are really spending in the wellness industry. They are supporting it. They are pushing us across and maintaining their spending. They are spending less in bars and more in fitness and overall wellness. The other piece of that to consider is that there is going to be a massive generational wealth transfer in the next 10 to 15 years. So boomers and Gen Xers, who are the parents, are going to be transferring their wealth, retiring to their kids, who are the millennials and the Gen Zs. The other thing that they're starting to see that I think is so very important and key is that they are continuing to support the wellness industry, and that aspect is going to allow certain organizations and providers to be recession resistant. There's nothing that is recession proof. We saw that. I lived through that. It was not fun. But again, I cannot stress to you enough, as spa owners, as spa managers, as wellness and spa leaders, you need to be incorporating wellness into every aspect of your business. It needs to be on the website. It needs to be in the pictures. It needs to be on your social media. It needs to be in the retail offering. It needs to be in your menu. It needs to be in every treatment, in every room. If you are looking to figure out how to sustain yourself when people are not spending, and what we have seen is people are not spending the same. Not the everyday person. When you start talking the 1%, that's a whole different conversation, right? But thinking about day spas and how they make up almost 80% of the industry, it is going to be imperative that you figure out a way how to modify, morph, evolve what you are doing into the wellness space. So massage is wellness. You know, you can make skincare wellness with the youthfulness and just taking better care, and the sunblock and the sunscreen and the various and different treatments that you can include. If you can convert a room to a flotation room, so they now have the ones where you can just kind of lay in it without the water and experiencing the water, so it's more like a dry flotation room. If you can look at incorporating in different pieces of equipment into the space that really cater to this concept of wellness, it is going to be so important as we move through this year and into the next, that you figure out strategies and ways to be able to incorporate these different wellness techniques, these products. We've said it before, pain management is a huge one, sleep is a huge one. The conversation around menopause, be that perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, so important, especially when you are reaching out to these older millennials, Gen Z and late boomers, right? And this is a large percentage of the population. Understanding again that Gen X women, there's been a shift and they control a lot of the wealth. And so they are dealing with these particular issues and situations. So if you can design those services to be able to incorporate that into it, if you can look at ways to really create connection and care outside of the traditional just come in and have a service and go home, how can you design your space or incorporate things into your space where you really can create a sense of community and connection, where you can talk about wellness, where you can assist people in their growth and in their experiences. And it cannot be the same stuff from like 30, 40 years ago. That is not going to appeal to the millennial and the Gen Z. It's almost like Vegas, right? So I've been in Vegas. I've been coming to Vegas longer than I'm going to say, but for a good little while. And what you find in Vegas is every time you come, there's something new. There's a different experience. There's something else has come up on the horizon, something else is in the works, so that you look forward to every time you come. The same thing is similar when you go to the big box stores and you shop. If you go to a big store, I'm going to say Nordstrom Rack, like every time you go in, they've moved some things around. There's some new products. There's some new things. Thinking about how do you incorporate those principles into your location so that people have something to come back to time and time again. So that's evolving the menu, thinking about the seasonality of the world. And you have the summer, the fall, the spring, the winter. Bringing those different aspects in. You have different things that are happening. You have Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, graduation. You have summer equinox, spring equinox, fall equinox. You have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Like your menu, your website should be ever evolving constantly, so that when someone who came 6 months ago or 3 months ago looks, that there is something there new and exciting for them to try, to be able to experience. And that really is the word. If you are trying to attract this millennial Gen Z population, they want unique social media experiences that they can share. And maybe you might have to go look at some trends that restaurants are doing or that other major beauty brands are doing to be able to incorporate it in. Maybe it's a wall, maybe it's just a unique aromatherapy class, but you still want to tie in this thread of wellness. And how can you incorporate that in? We've talked about bringing in guest speakers. So you can bring in a sleep therapist. You can bring in a mental health coach. You can bring in an acupuncturist. You can bring in, there's now menopause coaches that you can bring into the location. People dealing with Ayurveda and these natural indigenous treatments that consumers are also seeking out in this effort to strive towards wellness and well-being, and then ultimately thriving. So again, I really challenge you, sit down, see what's going on. How can you take this information, do your research, really thinking about who your niche demographic and audience is, to create these unique experiences that fold in wellness to the aspects, and looking at your menu, looking at your retail, looking at your services, looking at the rooms, the treatments that you are offering, and how do you maximize your space to be able to incorporate these concepts of wellness and well-being into it so that you can become recession resistant. And as someone who had to close a location during the last recession, it's not a joyous experience. And if there had been some tips or some insights that could have been used at that time that maybe would have saved my company for a little longer, believe me, I would have jumped on it. And so I want to make sure that I am sharing that insight with you. So until next time, wishing you much success and be well.